the meeting of August 12th of the Lafourche Levee District. Please rise for the pledge. Brent, will you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mary, roll call, please.
Keith Guidry.
Here.
Roland Durall.
Here.
Mitch Downs. Brett DeRoche.
Here.
Scott Marietta.
Here.
Brian Martz. Lily Rowan.
Here.
Marvin Vegas.
Here.
Mr. President, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, gentlemen, you've been presented minutes of last month's meeting. I need a motion to accept. Moved by Matt, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, moving on to the President's report. I have a resolution to read to everyone. Resolution number 2024-2. Whereas Mr. Ronald L. Colley served with distinction, diligence, and vigor to achieve the goals of the Lafourche Levee District since his appointment to the Board of Commissioners in 1984, serving in capacity of President of the Board for 21 years and Vice President for over 3 years. Whereas Mr. Ronald Colley demonstrated unwavering dedication, wisdom, and leadership, leaving an indelible mark on our community and on the Lafourche Levee District, which under his passionate leadership greatly improved the level of protection for residents and businesses of the Lafourche community against the threat of flooding from hurricanes and tropical storms. Whereas the passing of a great community leader and public servant had left a deep void in the Lafourche community. Now be it resolved that the Commissioners of the Lafourche Levee District extend a formal expression of their profound sorrow at the death of their colleague, Mr. Ronald Colley, and do hereby note the minutes of the passing of a man who was appointed to the board July 1984, served faithfully until his death in May of 2024, and was highly esteemed by his associates, and be it further resolved that the original of this resolution is to be tendered to his family as an expression of the board's heartfelt sympathy. And this was unanimously adopted on August the 12th by the Board of Commissioners of the Lafourche Levee District. And I'd like to make a presentation to Miss Elaine and her sons. Passionate for me, because as a young child, I grew up next to Mr. Ronald and you guys. As my young adulthood, I did business with Mr. Ronald and the boys, and then having to serve on here was a great honor. I learned so much from him, and I think everybody did. And on behalf of the Board of the Commissioners of the Lafourche Levee District, hereby commend and memorialize Ronald L. Colley in appreciation of his 40 years of service for the advancement and improvement of the flood protection for the people of the Lafourche community. Hereby presented to your family, Ms. Elaine. Famous word was higher. I don't know if they remember how many it was.
I'm just realizing that all the time that I would say, oh, gotta make it, gotta go. This is the first time I had ended up. Thank you all.
We need a motion. I hear you.
You do it.
I don't need a motion.
You do it. Okay, I could hear it.
We have one more.
Chief, we need a motion to approve the resolution. I'll second the motion.
Okay. This resolution?
Yes.
And we'll get it to them as soon as we get all the board member signatures.
Was that?
We'll get it to the family as soon as we get the other two board member signatures.
Okay, yeah. And a motion from
I
Mac.
always second and unanimously by the board.
Monty, that we approve the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, and proposed renaming of pump station number 1, which is our biggest pump station at the Golometa Park, it's visible to everyone, will now be known as the Ronald L. Colley Pump Station.
Thank you.
I'd like to just say I spent 32 years on the board. Most of my time I sat right beside Jonathan, and this was his way of giving back to the community, and he really enjoyed his time giving back, especially on this board right here. I know he's involved in a lot of community and civic organization. I think this was his best one, and I get that feeling from him. So thank you all, family, for letting us have him here. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be moving on with our meeting. You're welcome to stay, or if you'll have to. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
That was their bill.
Tips are low, eh?
Okay, moving on, executive committee report. Nick will give our executive committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So our executive committee met on August 6th at 8 a.m. First item we discussed was the Morganza Action Coalition agreement. It's an agreement for us to reestablish our membership with the Morganza Action Coalition. That was reviewed by legal counsel, and it'll be brought up for vote later this meeting. We also had 2 intergovernmental agreements with the state, CPRA, that need some updating. We discussed those. Those will both be brought up again today for passage by the board. We discussed the updated emergency operations manual. We periodically update our contact information with our state and federal partners to make sure that's all up to date. And so we discussed those updates and whether that needs to be brought to the board. And it was recommended that if it's only contact information that's updated, we don't need to have the full board approval, only if we have any kind of procedural changes. So we'll be doing that in the future. We did discuss renaming of pump station number 1 after Mr. Ronald Colley, and as we just saw, that was passed by the board. So we'll plan for a date to have that official dedication out by the pump station itself. So we'll let all of you in the public and of course Mr. Colley's family know when that's going to happen in the coming weeks. We discussed the Mississippi Valley Flood Control Association fly-in September 23rd through 24th. It was recommended that I do attend that fly-in in DC to help passage of the current WRDA bill that includes language about our system. We also discussed the repairs to the LaRose flood wall by the Python Corporation. That'll be updated later in my report. And then the LaRose Floodgate Emergency Closure Project, and a proposal from Pisiel and Associates to design an emergency closure system for the LaRose Floodgate was reviewed and recommended to be brought to the board for approval today. And it was discussed that I would set up meetings in the coming weeks with Mr. President Guidry, with our project engineers in the coming weeks to discuss priorities and timelines. And we've already had a successful discussion with one of those firms so far. So, that's summary of the executive committee.
Okay, we need to accept the Executive Committee report? Okay, moved by Mr. Rowland, second by Scott, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Audience comments, anybody here, Mr. Terrio, no, address the board, anybody? Okay. All right, moving back to Nick, Executive Director's report.
All right, so for more detail. So first is acceptance of the MAC agreement with authorization to sign. We've discussed in recent board meetings the benefit of reviving our relationship with the Morganza Action Coalition now that they've begun to receive some significant federal funding, including the very near-term design and construction of the GIWW East Floodgate that'll connect our system at Section F behind the Delta Farms community with the Lafourche Levee District, and that'll include installation of a sector gate across the Intracoastal, connecting our two systems. So Morganza Action Coalition's also taken an interest in our efforts to be reinstated into the Corps' Rehabilitation and Inspection Program, and they've directed their federal lobbyists, Acorn Consultants. It was Mike Henry that was here a few meetings back when we honored Wendell at his retirement. The really tall guy. No, that's separate, yeah. And so they've already helped me significantly in the steps that I've been taking with Congressman Graves, Scalise, and Senators Cassidy and Kennedy's offices on the Water Resource Development Act that's currently moving through Congress. It's already been approved by the House. It's on the Senate side. It's made it through Senate Natural Resources. So the Mississippi Valley Flood Control Association, flying I just mentioned from the Executive Committee, that's going to be perfect timing with where that bill is going to be in the process of getting through the Senate. So we'll be able to meet with some key Senate members that week to help push that along. So because of those efforts, it's recommended that we participate with Morganza Action Coalition, not at the same level as the other levee districts that still have a whole lot of work to do. They're more to the tune of $100,000 a year. It's requested that we only participate at a $10,000 a year level, which would cover 1 month, basically, of Acorn Consultants' fees. So discussing that with Henri Boulet of MAC, I would recommend that we have a motion to approve the agreement with Morganza Action Coalition at a $10,000 per year participation level.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager to accept the agreement with MAC. Moved by Scott, second by Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Next is acceptance of the state's intergovernmental agreement with authorization to sign for the D-South flood wall. We already have an agreement in place, but since Glenn Lede was appointed as Executive Director of CPRA, we needed to update the contact information on that agreement. So that's the only change that's being made, is just updating the contact information. But since it's a formal amendment, we need full board approval. So recommend that we approve that amendment.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager. Moved by Monty, second by Brett. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Next is a resolution for the mineral lease nomination, awarding that lease. So we had a bid opening today for the mineral lease that we discussed at the last meeting. At 2 p.m. we had one bid. It was from TP Panther Dome LLC. They submitted a bid providing for a bonus of $1,950 or $650 per acre, with annual rentals of $975 and royalties of 25% for the minerals provided. So recommend that we pass this resolution submitted by our land manager, that we hereby authorize the President or General Manager to execute the mineral lease in favor of TP Panther Dome LLC.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to award the mineral leases. Moved by Monty, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
All right, the next agreement is same situation as the one before, the D-South flood wall. This is for the D North ramp. No change to the provisions of the agreement itself, just updating the contact information. So I'd recommend that we approve this amendment and allow me to execute that document.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our general manager. Moved by Monty, second by Mac. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
The next thing on, let's see, I'm going to defer the LaRose floodwall urethane injection by the Python Corporation to Angelette Designs segment later, so he'll cover that. So the next item is the LaRose Floodgate Emergency Closure Project. As we showed last month, the issues that we have when the LaRose Floodgate has to stay open for long periods of time because of high water, and our AV guys come in the morning to address this issue. But there's a concern that if we can't close, like if we have a cable snap on one of the leafs of the sector gate, we can't close that floodgate, we could have 1.5 feet, 2 feet of water flooding into the system for however many hours it takes us to close that gate back. And just back in mid-June, when we had 1.5 feet of water and opened it for half an hour to allow vessels in and out, we had to use the siphon and pump station number 4 from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. to get back to manageable levels of water in the bayou from just a 30-minute opening. So discussing with Pisciola and Associates, they've got a proposal for up to $50,000 of design fees to create a system, a winch system that would be used in emergencies to be able to have our employees have a backup to close these gates so we don't have flooding for hours, but just minutes. So I recommend that we task Pisciola and Associates with that.
So you've heard, we need to approve that?
Well, at 50,000, it's within mine, so I'll just move ahead with that with Pisciola. And then the last piece is our millage reassessment values have been submitted by the assessor's office. So we received the 2024 reassessment millages. We received a decrease in taxable assessed value, as we expected, from 2023 to 2024, meaning that the millage rate would need to increase in order to collect the same revenue as 2023. So we have 2 different millages that we collect, one based on the Constitution, one's an ad valorem for construction and maintenance of levees. So the first one, in 2023, for example, we levied 4.86 mills. The maximum was 5.01. But last year's taxable property valuation was $439 million. This year it's dropped to 396.5, about $5 million. And so after the assessment, obviously if we would assess 4.86 mills again, we would be dropping in what we'd levy. And so upping our adjusted millage would put us up to $2.2 million that we'd collect. So that's a difference of about 69 or 65,000. Same thing, same kind of situation with our ad valorem that we collect. So it'd be another 65, 66,000 that we'd be dropping or increasing if we wouldn't roll forward or we would roll forward. So I would recommend that we scrutinize this a little more with our finance committee, and would recommend that we call a public hearing for next month, just in case we do decide to roll forward. We would need a public hearing, so it doesn't hurt to call it either way. So I'd recommend that we call a public hearing for 3 p.m. on September 9th, which will be our next board meeting. September 9th is our next board meeting.
That's our regular board meeting. That's our regular board meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Do we need a resolution to call a public hearing? No? Okay. All right, so if we would not roll forward, this would be what we would lose from last year. So this would be if we would, at the recommendation of the assessor, be giving our taxpayers a break because the decreased values means decreased economy. So where all taxing districts in the parish are being asked to consider only levying what's needed. So if we can keep the millage rates current and not roll forward in order to collect the same amount as we collected last year, this would be keeping our millages the same. We would be reducing our revenue by about $132,000. So we'll bring it to the finance committee to look at and discuss better what that means for us, and if that's something that we can live with, reducing our revenue by that much. So, but that completes my report.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Okay, engineering report, CPRA, anything, Daniel?
Not for today.
Okay, thank you. Corps of Engineers, no one's here. Project Engineers, Pisciola and Associates. Joe?
So on the LaRose Lock project, we're continuing to work with Nick on possible funding alternatives to make up the difference for the project. We have been researching a hydraulic study in conjunction with Lafourche Freshwater District. That'll continue to be ongoing. We do have another meeting supposedly being scheduled with the parish to talk about CDBG funds. On the E-North levee improvements, southeast corner to northeast corner, construction site specialties is the contractor. Really hadn't worked much the last month. We had some conversations with them, so they did move back in today. The biggest thing is that they're trying to get it to where they can work several weeks at a time. They're having trouble with their haul road and maintaining that, but they did let us know that they will be working when at all possible. There's still plenty of time left in the contract, so they're not running behind, but we'd rather to get them finished sooner than later. So we do have pay application number 7 in the amount of $81,227.61, and we do recommend you approve that.
And who is that to?
Construction Site Specialties, LLC.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay construction site specialties. Pay application number 7, amount of $81,227.61. Moved by Brett, second by Monty. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
So next project is Section A East levee improvements. The plans and specs are complete for this project. Remember, we submitted them to CPRA. They asked us for some more geotechnical investigation, which we did. Eustace Engineering's geotechnical analysis confirmed that our levee design section was going to work as required by CPRA's standards. So we did submit our findings, our reports to CPRA for approval once we receive that, and we'll be ready to go out for bid. On the repairs to the north gate structure at the Leon Ontario locks. So this was a project that was due to the damage that was caused by the barge that hit the corner on the east side gate structure. We also did some extra repairs to some cracks that we found that wasn't associated with the damage. TLP Construction Company was the contractor. We gave them the notice to proceed on July 8th. They moved in actually on the 15th because of the issues we were having with the high water and whatnot. But they did move in and they did a really good job. They did an excellent job on making all the repairs. They did it quickly, and they didn't really cause any disruption to navigation or anything, like very little. So we do have a certificate of substantial completion for TLP Construction Company, LLC. We recommend you approve that.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of the engineer to accept the certificate of substantial completion. Moved by Max, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
We also have pay application number 1 in the amount of $103,500 even for TLP Construction Company, LLC.
All right, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay TLP Construction. Pay application number 1 in amount of $103,500. Moved by Monty, second by Brett. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
So once we get the clear lien certificate after the lien period is up, we'll just owe them the retainage. And the repairs to pump number 1 at pump station number 2, Bowling Marine, is the contractor. They've been working on the pump. They actually put it all back together. They say it's going to be ready this Thursday, so we're going to coordinate with Drake. I think he's trying to get a crane scheduled to figure out whenever we get the crane scheduled to come in to lift the pump and put it back in place is when we'll have it delivered to us. Okay, so they're nearing completion on this. And there's no pay application for this at all yet.
Okay. Anything else for Joe? Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, GIS engineering.
Good afternoon, Kevin Desarn with GIS Engineering. update you all on our project list here. First off, we have the A East by Lafourche Water Retention Project. As John previously reported, our design and project plans and specs are done. We are waiting on the servitudes for that project. I talked with Ryan before this, and he said he's going to work on that and have them done here in the next couple weeks. So we should be ready to move forward with that project real soon. Next one is the D North ramp lift and material stockpile portion of it. So we gave outer limits the notice to proceed on July 1st. As you all know, the first half of July was very, very wet. We had a lot of rain. So we are asking for 15 additional days for all that weather. The farm was inundated with water for about 2 weeks where they couldn't even get out there. But since then, this picture was taken end of July, so they were able to get out there and get started, so they are making progress now. But I do ask for those 15 days for change order number 1. It is zero cost, just days.
Okay. Go with it? Yep. Okay, you've heard the recommendation to extend 15 days to their contract. Moved by Monty, second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on to the reconnection to Breton Canal. This is Garden Environments. They too were given notice to proceed in July, specifically July 10th. They were working on getting mobilized to the site. They did mobilize this piece of excavation equipment. This is a marsh buggy, and they started clearing the canal and performing the excavation in the canal that they have to do.
When did they start with this?
About a week and a half ago.
Oh,
They just mobilized. Yep.
The dredging on here was the last portion that, our guys in-house cleared out most of the canal,
Right.
but then closer to the highway, there was a lot of debris and junk that people had kind of dumped in there, so internally we decided we'd be more comfortable having a contractor handle all that material than our guys, so that's where this excavation's coming in.
Yep. So other than that, we're working on the front end of the job, reviewing and processing submittals and RFIs like that. So they should be ramping up real soon and be driving piles here probably this month. This month.
Great.
And the last project we have is the D-South flood wall, the Phase 3 project at the Crawfish Farms. So this job is currently being advertised. We are opening bids, I think, August 27th, I believe, here. So we'll see. We had a pre-bid conference last week. There was good turnout, a lot of contractor interest in it, so we feel like it's going to be a good competitive bid. Any questions?
Awesome.
Thank you.
No money, come back.
No money, right?
And you let design, Neil.
All right, on the C North levee improvements, that contractor, Compo and Sons, is wrapping things up. I believe that the work is probably complete. We'll be doing as-built surveys this week to verify if any areas need additional work. But we do have their invoice number 1283 for your approval in the amount of $48,427.50.
All right, you heard recommendation of engineer to pay Compo and Sons invoice 1283, amount of $48,427.50. Moved by Scott, second by Matt. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
All right, and with that project completion, that levee should be up to an elevation of plus 13.5. Next project is Sea-South Flood-Side Repairs. That contractor, again, is Compo and Sons. They're working on rebuilding that flood-side berm, as well as hauling material from behind the shooting range. We have several invoices for your consideration today and approval. Number 1284 in the amount of $42,305. Number 1285 in the amount of $130,460, and 1292 in the amount of $16,662.50.
I think they're completed with that night work.
They are. The night work was completed, I think, as of sometime last week.
So it should go down a little bit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you heard the recommendation of our engineer to pay those 3 invoices. The Compo and Sons. Moved by Mr.
We gotta do the stuff.
separately?
Do them all. Do them all. Sorry, I moved on.
Make your money.
Trying to stay out of the camera view.
All right.
All in one or
No.
three separate? Okay.
The recommendation engineer to pay Compo and Sons invoice 1284, amount of $42,305. Moved by Mac, second by Monty. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. All right, at the recommendation engineer to pay Compo and Sons invoice 1285 in the amount of $130,460. Moved by Brad, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, at the recommendation engineer, pay Compo and Sons invoice 1292 in the amount of $16,662.50. Moved by Monty, second by Scott. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
Okay, next project is the LaRose flood wall vessel impact barrier. That contractor completed the work, Lowland Construction, and we're just currently in the clear lien period. So I think next month we'll probably have the clear lien certificate and the retainage up for your consideration. On the Section F berm improvements, this is behind Delta Form and LaRose on the east side. That contractor, Sea Level Construction, is continuing to work on that project to improve the protected side berm. We're recommending his application for payment number 10 in the amount of $83,989.02.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of engineer to pay Sea Level Construction. Pay application number 10 in the amount of $83,989.02. Moved by Mac, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, the last item I have that Nick asked me to speak on, this is the LaRose flood wall repair. There was an area of the old LaRose flood wall that was built back in the 80s that had some seepage, and we looked at it, investigated it. This is not a flood issue, this is a rainwater issue, but rainwater accumulates between the new flood wall and the old flood wall in LaRose. They're about 10 feet apart. The new flood wall is very substantial. That's your true level of flood protection. You don't have any seepage happening there, but you can see this is the old flood wall, and every so often in that old flood wall there's a construction joint, an expansion joint, if you will, and that old joint is probably 40 plus years old, and that rainwater accumulates between the two walls and finds its way out through the ground, through some of these old cracks. And in this particular spot on Avenue H, is creating a nuisance for the residents there. They have poor drainage at that area to begin with, but that in addition to this constant rainwater finding its way out in this one spot, the district decided to do some injection with Python Corporation. So you can see here, it's just a specialized foam injection on the backside of that wall to seal up the crack. It seems to have worked. The area is fairly dry now, even with all the rain we've been having. This is a problem that may appear in several spots over time that we'll have to deal with, but I suspect this was the worst of it, just because of the drainage. It may be happening in other places, but where the parish has adequate drainage, you'll never notice, and that rainwater will just come on out.
What was the cost of it?
It was about $6,000. Yeah.
The residents are okay with it?
Yeah, we spoke to the resident that lives right against that wall, and he's happy. So, yeah.
And that's what we found out about at first. We got a resident complaint of the person who lives right next to it. He had his own pump that he was trying to drain it, but couldn't keep up. And then it was starting to be a breeding ground for mosquitoes. And so, yeah, he's excited to have it taken care of, for sure.
Okay, anything else for Neil? Thank you, Neil.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone from Delta Coast? Moving on to All South, Stevie Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Stevie Smith at All South. I just have a couple of projects to report on. I think the first one on the agenda is our Golden Meadow Marsh project. I think it's still on the agenda. We haven't had any changes in that. Again, we got denied funding for the grant application we made. We're reaching out to GOSEP to see if we can improve that application for next year, but we don't have any money for that project as of now. The other two projects to report on, and I forget what order they're on the agenda. The first one is our terrace repairs, right? So this is the work that's being done by the Terrebonne Levee District to those terraces behind Reach K. There's about 8,000 linear feet of terraces that need to be repaired. They've fixed about 6,700 feet of those terraces, so frankly, they're on the back end of this work. It's almost done. I would say in another 30 days, they'll probably be done with this work. And again, just to remind the board, we have FEMA funding to do this. Terrebonne Levee District's actually doing it for you as your contractor. They're gonna turn around and bill you for that work at the end of it. And once you get billed and you pay them, then we're gonna get reimbursed from FEMA for that work. Okay, kind of a convoluted accounting thing, but really, truly is the lowest cost way to get this done, all right? The next project on my list is our Reach K levee work. Again, this is from Pointe-aux-Chenes going north along Grand Bayou. So the first 1/3 of this work is from the Pointe-aux-Chenes floodgate up to that first water control structure. So all of that work is complete. So that is all up to an 11 at a minimum, and frankly, about 1,000 feet next to the floodgate is up to a 12. So that is all done right now, which was frankly, the lowest part. That was always the most threatened in that part of the world. So with that done, we are now starting to haul material to the middle section, which is between those two water control structures. It's another 2 miles. That work literally started at the end of last week and into today. And the plan is to get all that up to a plus 11. That certainly is going to take another 3 or 4 months of hauled in material. And again, I know this is on the other side of the world, so to speak, Pointe-aux-Chenes, Lafourche side of Pointe-aux-Chenes, but we're digging material out of a pit off of kind of behind Upper Montague and trucking it down Pointe-aux-Chenes Road. Then we cross that little bridge, and then you get on the other side of Pointe-aux-Chenes, and then you drive 2 and 3 miles up the levee to dump a load of material, which is, as convoluted as that is, that is the cheapest way to do this job, and that is happening every day. I mean, this is the best this levee's looked, in 40 years, right? Because it started as a mitigation levee for your South Lafourche hurricane system, so it's really in pretty good shape. But that work is ongoing, and it hadn't rained over there in a week, and it's what we hear outside probably raining right now. Right? So, okay, and that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Any questions for Stevie? Thank you, Brian. Okay, legal permits and rights of way. I know Mitch's not here, but do we have anything?
Yes. We have a few permits. First from Cantium, care of Revo Services, in the Fouchon area, and then down the Bayou Charters through Pisiol and Associates, also in the Levee area. So neither of these are really, or Fouchon area, sorry, neither of these are really going to be anywhere near our levee, so recommend that we approve.
Okay. Heard the recommendation of our general manager to approve the 2 permits. Moved by Matt, second by Monty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, Mr. Board Attorney.
Just a quick update on the LA Contracting Enterprises for South Lafourche Levee District. We were supposed to have First Circuit arguments last week. The opposing side had a conflict and had asked to continue it. We are still waiting for a new date on that. Once I get that, I'll update y'all. I'll know by next meeting if they've set it. We just kind of at the whim of the First Circuit right now, so they tell us what's what. And then on the GIS servitude, I should hopefully have that all prepped and ready for our next meeting.
Okay. Any questions for? All right, thanks. Nothing else? Finance Committee, Monty?
Okay, the board met before this meeting, and we recommended all bills be paid as presented.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our Finance Committee Chairman that we pay all invoices. Moved by Brad, second by Mr. Rowland. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Personnel Committee.
Okay, so first item is we updating our disciplinary action plan to employees. Currently, as a employee gets written up, it goes in their file. After so many times, it's repetitive, he could be terminated, but we think it would be fair for the district and also for the employees that we allow it to drop after his record after 3 years of not having the same write-up, as long as it's not repetitive or abusive. I think it's just, we just need to clean that up a little bit, and I think there's more consistency by doing that way. So we're looking for the board to adopt the recommendations. It's also to be, if you want to read it, we have it in a copy of the personnel policy and procedure. So looking for board approval.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation of our Personnel Committee Chairman that we adopt the new revised Employee Disciplinary Action Plan.
Yes.
Moved by Mac, second by Scott, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed.
So there's one other thing, just for your information, just to get the approval, we're going to be hiring, there's 2 Levee District employees that are being replaced, and we probably be hiring within. So just to give you information on that, because we need to hire somebody quickly, so we'll figure out from that pretty soon. Okay.
That's what I had, yeah. Okay, moving on, Insurance Committee report.
Yes, so we met with the carriers a couple of weeks ago, and we're evaluating a potential buyback option for a little deductible. So we'll have another committee meeting and then come back to the board with our suggested path forward.
Okay, thanks. Any old business? Any old business? Any new business? Any new business? No need for executive session. Entertain a motion. Moved by Matt, second by Brett, that we adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay, also, guys, get with